Hello, Star Wars fans. Hey, you realize there's just 12 days until Christmas 2021. Oh, you have one shopping weekend left. That's it, my friends. It's here. And as that affects me, I am doing virtual Santa visits almost every single day. I've got some home visits. I've got corporate kind of events to go to. And so you will see some schedule change. The first being tomorrow. Tomorrow we'd normally do some fan fiction stuff with a magic maker. We're going to have to postpone that. I've got too many other Santa performances going on, too much other going on with my day job. So you guys apologize for not being available tomorrow, but we'll get going. And Gray, yes indeed. Oh, my friend Gray, she has a virtual visit going next week on the 23rd. And Abby, love the stash, Santa. Thank you. This is it's got a little wax on it. We're getting ready because I immediately after work today, I've got to get the Santa suit on and do some visits with some folks this evening from 6 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll be doing visits. So thank you guys so much. And look, there's Mike Porter. All the 12 days of Christmas have indeed begun. Thank you so much. But appreciate all of you being here. And you guys, we've got a bit of news to go through today. And as we do on Mondays, Jason Ward has made himself available to the stream.
Darth Claus, are you ready? Oh, wait, we're not doing that? You said it was just like a Sith day, and now I feel stupid. Hi, everybody.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Going?
It's going well. It's going well. And I noticed on our Discord we were getting some chat going about this mission fleet line, right? And this is the one I love to bring up because you got this wonderful Boba Fett with whatever that thing is.
He's
right?
tiny.
Whatever. Is that supposed to be the Slave One? Is that supposed? No, it's actually a jet backpack.
Yeah, that's just some made-up stuff they've been making since 1995, it looks like to me.
Yeah. It's just, it's mission fleet nonsense is what it is. And so there's some, enough against folks who want mission fleet stuff. It's this kind of scale, right?
It's fun for kids. I mean, and that's what matters, is that the kids have a fun jetpack.
Well, are they buying it?
I don't know.
That's the question. The question. So it's not really good. So, hey, we've got other things to briefly discuss here. And the first is, and I know you've already reported it, Meg's already reported it, everybody except me, because I don't do weekend content. The rumor is that we're going to see Grogu in the Book of Boba Fett. And there's been all kinds of reporting going on it. Star Wars Newsnet reported on it. And of course, once they report on it, a bunch of other people pick up on it.
But wasn't this already a story from Tatooine show, I want to say? Like months ago?
I think we knew this, more than months ago, like a long time. We've kind of known, somebody put in, okay, so we had this logo on
I saw
the crew merch.
Yeah, Bespin Bulletin had that stuff.
Yeah, all the way back with the Buccaneers season 1, and we saw that like way back when we were lots of speculation about what is this in the Book of Boba Fett, and we saw this logo. Well, there's been additional corroborating evidence, if you will, that they ordered a bunch of Grogu figurines to give to all the cast, like over 100 of them.
Yeah,
and the group making the figurines said, "Hey,
it was 400.
A whole bunch
it was 400, right? I think it was 400 of them, right?"
I was thinking so, but I didn't want to say the number off the top of my head. So more than 100, more than 4, 400 and some. There's a bunch of them.
The whole crew.
Yes, the whole crew are getting these little Grogu figurines. Well, why are you getting a Grogu figurine for doing the Book of Boba Fett? Yeah, right.
For sure.
Hey, there's K Million, my lead elf here at the North Pole. We call her Lolly the elf. Kayla, good to see you. And X-Wing is here. So, yeah, I don't think this is new news. It's additional corroborating evidence
Yeah.
that further kind of solidifies what that would be. Oh, my goodness. Alan, thank you so much for the super chat. So nice. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you too, my friend Alan. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, so corroborating evidence, we're going to get this. And I want to come back to this in just a moment, because once we get on to our main topic of the day, and I think we're going to get there pretty soon, we're going to come back to the Book of Boba Fett. We'll talk a little bit about Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett in context of George's lost sequels. This is what we're calling it here. And I see Meg there. You guys react to the new Boba trailer. There's a new Boba trailer.
What?
Did you know this?
No, I didn't know.
This. Why
don't you tell me, Meg?
See theory. I don't need to see theory. I just want to see. Hold on.
What are you doing, Star Wars Theory? We're trying to watch the Boba trailer.
I know. What are you doing on my YouTubes? So here we go.
It's not your YouTube. All right, here we go. I can't hear it.
I'm working on it.
Okay, so far it's all the stuff we've already seen.
Yep.
So even though he's probably saying like, here's the whole story of Boba Fett. It's a book I wrote. It's all about jumping off of roofs in old cars. Yeah, it looks like there was maybe one new shot of Fennec with her Devo helmet on.
Yeah, I saw a couple of little things there that looked new. So let me just slow it down and turn off the audio, because there were a couple of, I think, tiny scenes added. I don't know that we get a lot of context. And I want to say something. This is a theory of mine. It's just Santa's harebrained tinfoil hat theory. Mm-hmm. This is all from one episode. The entire, everything that we've gotten is from one episode. So
I am betting that you are 100% right.
Okay, so we've seen this dude.
Yeah,
and there's
but Meg says what Fennec is saying is really important. What is she saying, okay. Meg? Because I can't hear it.
Okay, let me turn on the. Where's the? No, that's out of. Where's the? Yeah. Where's the? It's not giving me the choice to turn on.
Okay, yeah, Meg is saying that we need audio on this one.
Okay, well, normally I like to turn on the subtitles.
Yeah.
And normally subtitles would be loaded, but they don't have. Say there's no subtitles.
They may have not provided them on this one on accident.
On accident? Oh.
Yeah.
Curses.
Yeah.
Foiled. Okay. Well,
do you remember that? Do you remember when there was a Star Wars Infinity game and Kylo Ren said curses in it, and all these people were insisting he said cousin? They're like, Ray's his cousin. He's saying cousin. Sorry.
Oh, that's great. So let me see if I can get what she's saying is pretty important. Put the audio or subtitles. I'm trying to put the subtitles on. But then there are no subtitles to turn on. So I
can just make it up. I mean, like, oh, there's Boba. He's my man. I love that man of mine.
I'll turn the volume back on, and I will I'll narrate what I hear as we hear it. Okay.
Okay.
So
all right.
So this
you're Fennec. You're Fennec Shand.
I'm dubbing over the trailer with my own narration. Here we go.
All right.
Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect. In difficult times, fear is a sure bet.
Okay, Darth Maul.
They're going to war. Okay, so she says this is just the first wave. Like back here. Here she says, these are just the first wave. They're going to war. Then we will be ready. So there you have it. So let's go. There's some good stuff.
So that's it. that's implying to me that Boba goes to take over, and then the red hat miners, whatever they're called, are like, no, this is our world, so we're gonna have Boba versus the red guys,
Red Key Raiders.
Red Key Raiders, the red hat club with those ladies at fancy restaurants in Newport Beach.
Right. You got to wear a purple dress and a red hat. There you go. Oh my goodness! Yeah, so there you get Fennec and Boba overlooking from the kind of upper level there.
Yeah,
and this dude we've seen as we were.
Yeah, he sings on the cruise now. That's his new job.
Oh no! Don't bring up the cruise again.
No, let's not do it. Let's try to put that behind us.
Yeah. So here we go. This town, there's a lot of speculation about. I saw is that a helicopter flying in the background?
It's out there in El
I think
Segundo.
I saw a helicopter right there. You can see it right here. There's a helicopter. Right.
I wonder if that's the ship that we see in the other scenes that's a bit closer, or if it's just a four.
Or if it's the Slave One just really far away.
Yeah.
So this is somewhat new. He's carrying his helmet upside down.
Yeah, because he has the coins in it. Right.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, because it falls down and his coins fall out. Right.
Yeah.
So there we see the dudes. That's a neat place to store your batarang.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. The Red Key Raider guys are going left to right there.
Yeah.
And she's fixing to take on a couple of them.
Yeah.
I'm not liking their chances.
No, they kind of look like dudes doing backyard wrestling. Right? They don't look that tough.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Boba Fett throwing singles. Yeah.
New one next week. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, she's fixing to put her hurt on them. The conversation there. I love Ming Na Wen. She's just so good. And then, a good question is how long until they have a Fennec Shand spinoff?
Right.
Oh, he jumps that first one entirely. Okay, there we get Han Solo's speeder from Solo. That's not. Yeah. It's not. I'm just saying it's a similar design.
Yeah.
Oh, people will say, Santa, you're some kind of idiot. No, I know what it is. And I may be some kind of idiot too. I'm not ruling that out. I'm just saying.
Oh, I know I'm an idiot, but my whole thing is just like my I have that like nerd brain inside me whenever somebody misspeaks on Star Wars, where I go, actually it's this, and I stop doing that because you don't want to do that in real life. And then people are like, why didn't you say something on the show? And it's like, because it's not important. You know what
I know. I saw you not doing that with Rob last week. I was like, it was so good. It was so good. Oh, so another just hype video. Look, I think the whole thing is just one episode. We're seeing the setup for the show. It's pretty epic. I'm pretty excited about it. And look, we're just over 2 weeks from that. We're coming up on 2 weeks tomorrow night. Or Wednesday morning, as it is for whatever your time zone is. For me, it's middle of the night tomorrow. So look, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
pretty exciting.
And I'll be staying up and watching it live. So if anybody wants to, I don't know if you're gonna do something like that, but I'm down to stay up. Easier for me than you though.
Butterfly Wing is on his route to his crying corner. There you go. I love X-Wing. It's such a great friend, a great supporter. So thank you. So let's jump back into George Lucas's sequels, because I think that we're going to see some of the story points that we read in this article brought over into the Book of Boba Fett. I think it's extremely possible.
Oh, I had something to add before we started, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's that an article came out, and I meant to tell you before, but we started gabbing how we do before the show, and I didn't get to the business. Is that Simon Kinberg confirmed publicly finally that he was working at Lucasfilm under George Lucas, and that the story group was formed during George Lucas's time.
Oh, really?
Yes, and that it basically, not very much. I don't think he said this, but essentially implied that really the only thing that Kinberg actually got out in the end, beyond being a consultant, was Star Wars Rebels. But yeah, that he was working under the story group under George Lucas, and that that was formed during his reign. So, yeah,
Excellent. Very interesting.
Different contextualization to some degree of a lot of the stuff that you hear from YouTubers that just make stuff up.
What?
Yeah.
Wait. YouTubers make stuff up?
Yeah, it's a thing.
I never heard of it.
I hate to break it to you. And also, wrestling is fake. But yeah,
my world is shattered. but let's be clear, UFOs are real.
They are real.
Yeah.
They confirmed it. It's confirmed.
I saw an article over the weekend, not to go down your rabbit hole. This is
it's infectious. I'm gonna get you.
I feel the black hole of Jason's rabbit hole sucking me in. It's an irresistible force. It's going to destroy me if I don't give in. But I saw something about 4 terabytes of data from the government supposed to be released next year.
Yeah,
that's a lot of data. But anyhow, it's a lot of it's probably video footage, which means it's not all just text. So anyhow,
Meg had an experience. Meg, you have to come on my show. This is crazy. Get on the show. I want to hear all about it firsthand.
There you go. Make it happen. Make it happen. The next time Jason's got a UFO show, it'll star Star Wars Meg, giving her experience. Oh, people think I'm crazy if I tell it publicly. So there you go.
That's all changing, Meg. It's all changing.
It's not mainline yet. Maybe next year, after that 4 terabyte data dump. But anyway, I think there's going to be some incorporation of some of what we go through here, and maybe even today. We'll see, today or next week, on what is in George Lucas's kind of outline. So just as a brief recap. Oh, and Anthony asks, if George were to do his sequels, who would have been the leads? Not necessarily the actors, but the characters.
Yeah.
And the answer to that, Anthony, is it changed from time to time. I think in the last version that we have, and we'll talk about it some today, but like Darth Maul was part of it, but they killed Maul in Rebels for the second time. I'm presuming that George would not have brought Maul back a third time.
No, he wouldn't have killed. I mean, Maul wouldn't have been killed. Like, it was clear in the Clone Wars that when you look at the whole big picture, is that you have Maul come back and he does this super daring thing with the underworld because he was supposed to be the leader of the Clone Wars. You know? Ooh, we were there. Like, see it. Yeah. I gotta hear this, and I gotta hear about this. But Maul was supposed to lead the Clone Wars. He was supposed to be Count Dooku, and then Obi-Wan interrupts the plans. And then when Lucas, and then he originally obviously killed in Phantom Menace, and then Lucas changes his mind because fans want him to, and he's like, okay, I like him, he's cool, we'll do that. But when you remember that Clone Wars ended, or had him taking over Mandalore, becoming Mandalore, pretty much taking over the whole underworld, and then Sidious comes in and puts the kibosh on it. But the very last Dark Horse comic before they got the license back again was that Maul was going to escape from that prison, and then he was but he was being allowed to exist.
Well, in Rebels season 3, I was just doing a rewatch of it last week. Mm-hmm. When we see Maul, he still has the dark saber in his possession. So that was still a thing at that point before they killed him again. So, which kind of doubles down on the theme that we'll talk about. Lucas's plans evolve and change over time, and we saw that with the original trilogy, for example. And I was just chatting with somebody about it in my comments from last week's video, where Nelith was Luke's sister, and she was in some other part of the universe, and the sequels were going to be about Luke searching her out, and then the two of them overtaking and killing the Emperor. We weren't supposed to meet the Emperor in full-fledged mode until the sequels. So that's where that originally started. And had we gotten that story, I would have been happy. I would have been happy if they left Leia not Luke's sister, and it could have continued her story. She's as a fan favorite, as somebody who was really important to the original trilogy, and then like the novels that came afterwards, and her continued story arc. Fantastic stuff. I wouldn't have changed a lot of that. I would have just not made her Luke's sister, and then left the search for his sister out there.
Well, and I think that they were heavily implying that had Leia not been the sister, she would have been the romantic love interest. And with Han Solo having perished, that would have naturally been the course of the story, especially in the 80s. For sure, it would have went that way, I think.
Yeah. Well, once they decided not to kill Han, then you still had that love triangle going on. And that still could have been some tension that carried forward. Whether it was, something that became a adversarial kind of thing, or just this a bit of tension, that would have been fine. But that could have, Kendall, I would have rather seen Leia be Luke's bae. That's back in the day, we didn't call it shipping, but I would have been a Luke and Leia shipper. Back in the day, until I found out that she was his sister. But that was
as a what, 3.5-year-old, that's what I assumed was going to happen. I'm not even kidding. I was like, I kid had the storybook early, and we read it, and we're like, what? It's his sister? That was like the biggest revelation ever to me. I was almost 4. I'm just like, this is huge.
I was a preteen, going into my early teens, and I would have been a Luke Leia shipper at the time. And then I was in my teens when I learned that she was his sister, and I was like, "Oh, that's not cool." But
really, it was frustrating to you.
yeah. But because I never liked Han all that much to begin with.
I was a Luke kid too. I was a Luke kid. I was also a little white kid with blonde hair, so easy to identify with him.
There you go. So it's just a bit of a recap. Originally in the 80s, Lucas had this overarching story arc, right? And the sequels would have been Luke as a Jedi going to find his sister, unique from Leia. That was Nelith that we talked about. And in episode 9, the Emperor, Luke's ultimate battle with him, presumably including Nelith, or whatever her name would have been by the time. Because that would certainly not have been her name. It would have been something else. But
Santa, when you were 15, did you have a big gray beard? Kendall says, just imagine a 15-year-old with acne and a gray beard.
If you've seen the animated cartoons with Santa Claus is coming to town and all that kind of thing, my beard, when it first started coming in, had a reddish tinge to it. So it was brown with a reddish tinge, much like the young Santa Claus in those animated films.
So Santa during his lumberjack days, kind of.
yeah. We didn't have what are they called? The guys now that have the beard, hipsters. Yeah, we didn't have hipsters back in the day. Guys with finely groomed beards.
This is my craft beer. It's called North Pole Brew. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it tastes really horrible, but we all pretend that we like it. It's just Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh my goodness. So, this was in the late '80s. This is sort of what he had. But then by '81, he said he was only going to make one trilogy. So again, just a bit of a recap. So, when he originally had it planned out, that was sort of what was going to happen. By '81, no, we're just going to do one trilogy. Then
and I want to add that I suspect the whole thing was always about sort of the carrot on the stick. And I have a feeling that by the time they were getting to Return of the Jedi, it was so exposed that I still think he planned on doing the prequel trilogy, but I think he was afraid of people thinking, oh, I won't go see that one. I'll go see the one after. So he started to say, it's getting limited now, guys. So go see Return of the Jedi, because I think he saw that it was started kind of getting a little bit sleepy, a little bit tired, and played out.
Interesting. My memory is hearing these stories where he said originally, like, he had 3 trilogies planned out, and people said, well, why did you start with number 4 of the 9? And there was, at least my memory tells me, he said something about it was the one that he could tell that he, because he was financing it largely himself and all of that. So he thought picking up there would get the most momentum. And then if he ever had the resources and capability, he might go back and tell the other 2 trilogies. But so this was always a bit of a, kind of moving target.
Yeah, and especially when you think about it, because like when Star Wars is released, it doesn't say Episode 4. Then he adds it for the first re-release with and then Empire becomes Episode 5. And so it's like, and then within what, a year and a half, he's decided, now I'm not doing any more after this trilogy. Well, why would you add 4, 5, and 6 unless you were going heavy with the throwback? But I don't, that doesn't make that. But it was more confusing than anything.
Yeah, it was. And then we're always speculating, as people do today as well. We're always speculating, might we ever get those stories? But then he said, no, we're only going to do these 3. And then he says, oh, surprise, we're going to do more. And then so he goes back and decides he's going to do the prequels. And that's what this section of the article talks about, doing the prequel trilogy and so on. And they talk about making a sequel, and he keeps changing his story a bit. But at the end of this section, he said there'll definitely be no 7 through 9. It's not because there isn't any story, or that's because there isn't any story. And a lot of people picked up on this line, said, look, it ends with 6. There's nothing else. And they've kind of latched onto this quote. Well, this was, and we've talked about this too. This is 2008 Lucas, not 2012 Lucas, by the way.
Yeah.
So even George Lucas's plans had changed from 2008, where people like to quote this, there is no story after 6, right? And they say, that's where my Star Wars stops.
And what do I always say about 2008? What changed? 2008 financial crisis is what changes everything.
It certainly did. It certainly did. And that's one thing that, again, people kind of lose context over, because they just focus in on Lucasfilm. And then within Lucasfilm, they focus in on Star Wars. And we're going to talk about how that's not the whole story, my friends. Star Wars is not the entire envelope of George Lucas's work or his passion or his creativity. And that's where we start to see things kind of fall apart. So we're here on the renewed development section last week when we stopped. And this is why this is sort of germane to what we're saying right now, is in May 2011. So we'll go just 3 years later, 2008, 1911. He's in Orlando, and he has this discussion with Iger. Would you sell it? And he said at that point he had begun to consider retiring but wasn't ready. And then look at this, 2011, 3 years after he said, my story ends. He said, it's because there is no story to tell. That's what he said 3 years ago, right? One paragraph up. You can still see it up there, right?
Yeah.
So 2011, he's already talking about, he decided, he was considering directing episode 7 for a 2015 release. He was already kind of retconning himself, right? It changed his mind. Well, what happened in 2011 and going into 2012 that made him all of a sudden say, never mind, right? So in 2012, he said, in January 2012, he decided no more blockbuster films. Well, look at this. In early 2012, after being disappointed by the weak performance of Red Tails, he announced he was going to retire. Look, Red Tails, and I know a lot of people don't pay any attention to it, it was a fiasco. Not only was it kind of weak performance, it got all kinds of criticism over being racist, over being like just a terrible, terrible movie, terrible story, racist, all kinds of nonsense. Like
Yeah.
people were upset about it.
Right.
It wasn't just weak performance. People were upset about it, and this is seems to be in context the straw that broke the camel's back. Right? So he was doing other things. He had started thinking about doing his sequels. He was going to go ahead and start episode 7 for 2015 release. Red Tails is the straw, right? It just broke his back. And when, with all the nonsense that came out of Red Tails, he said, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
So that's just, yeah. Yeah, Kindle. I liked Red Tails from what I remember. Yeah, I sort of liked it too, but it got all kinds of problems.
What Red Tails attempted to do was to make a film about African American history and to not make it all sad trumpets and stuff like that, and to show the heroism of those black fighter pilots at that time, and to sort of like make, and I think in Lucas's mind, a black Star Wars that celebrated Black history, and I personally don't really think he did a bad job with it. I think it was very much a Lucasfilm vibe. It felt like a Lucasfilm movie to me, and I enjoyed the movie for like what it is. But what happened was he had a director whose name escapes me right now. And then during the reshoot process, which Lucasfilm always does, that director couldn't be involved. Now, it was never clear if that was true or not, but Lucas basically went in and then did a bunch of the reshoots and made things how he wanted it. So essentially, it sounds like what he was doing was a Richard Marquand kind of situation, where he had a director by proxy doing what he wanted because he didn't want to do it. And then he stepped in at the end and did all the stuff he truly wanted to do for all of those years. But on the flip side of that, I would also say I feel like Lucas was heading towards retirement, and Red Tails was the last movie in the wheelhouse of things to get out for what he had said he would do. So I kind of think he was hoping it was going to be a huge success, and then when it wasn't, I think it also reiterated that he was super out of touch with popcorn filmmaking today, and that Kinberg thing. Look at who Kinberg was at that time. The fact that they brought Kinberg in there, I think, says something about like that. Lucas was probably trying to come to terms with the fact that he did not know how to make mainstream movies anymore. You know?
Well, and I think he doesn't take well to fan criticism.
Yeah.
Go back to the Phantom Menace and the fan criticism of Jar Jar, and he didn't take that so well.
No.
And a lot of people say, well, look, it was the fans' fault that he sold Lucasfilm because they didn't like Jar Jar or whatever, right? They didn't like the prequels. There was all this fan backlash over the prequels. Well, George didn't take it well. He didn't take it well, but he definitely changed part of the story due to that fan criticism. And when Red Tails got that kind of Yeah, right. So there is this narrative, and Daryl said the prequel hate crushed him. It sort of did, but he seems to have recovered by 2011, and he was thinking about doing episode 7 for release in 2015, and then perhaps turning the stories over after 7.
And we can't overlook the Clone Wars film, which actually WB were the ones who wanted to make it into a movie, but he agreed to do, and then that came out and that disappointed, and Phantom Menace 3D came out and that disappointed. Like, it was for him, there weren't a lot of wins. Like,
No.
I mean, none of the prequel films, I think he could have walked away feeling like it was like a true win. Revenge of the Sith maybe, but I think that was just because people were like, oh, okay, we can't really levy the same criticism against it as the other one. And so by the end of it, you just have George Lucas really beaten up for like a good 2000 or 1999 on. I don't think he actually had a win. Clone Wars being a on TV, I don't think really counts very much for him.
Yeah, I want to bring this up. I want to bring this up here because I saw people saying they didn't hear about the racism kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And so I brought up Red Tails and the controversy, and again, it's a wiki article, but and you can research it more if you guys are really interested. I don't want to go down too far down this rabbit hole, but I just want to kind of show you guys. In the face of media criticism of the portrayals of the Tuskegee Airmen, which for those of you who are in Ireland, the UK, and may not know much about the Tuskegee Airmen, it was a U.S. military air wing made up of all African Americans, black soldiers. And they were heroic in much of their actions in World War II, like tremendously heroic. One of the best forces we had. And they were not celebrated at the time at the level that they are now. We recognize now what they are, but and what they were, and these guys are truly honored as true American heroes that they are. But at the time, that wasn't the case. And in the face of media criticism, Red Tails, a number of activists took to social media to protest against what was thought to be a racially tinged effort to denigrate the contribution of wartime fighting unit. So this became, oh my goodness, Kendall got to meet one of them. Oh, that's fantastic, Kendall. So look, it did get a lot of criticism from activists and stuff saying that it was racially biased. George got the same thing with Jar Jar, right? Jar Jar, people came out after the fact and said, or as soon as the movie came out and said, oh, it's racially profiled character with the accent and all of this.
Yeah, and Ahmed Best, I interviewed him a few weeks ago, or a few months ago now, and he was like, we were just like, what? Like, it's that's a difficult place to, it's difficult territory to transverse with American history, what you can accidentally imply, even if that's not what you're implying. That's what it's yeah. So it's like the big question was that the movie for George Lucas to make? Was that should George Lucas have championed that? And as an 1980s liberal in San Francisco, he was the only one who would have picked it up. But by the time you get to the 2010s, maybe that wasn't the movie for you to, like, you know what I mean? In the 80s, you were the only one who would have done it. So good on you if you had, but you didn't. And by the time you did, somebody else could have done it. But there were also the other ones. There were already Tuskegee Airmen movies out, like a big miniseries and stuff. But they were like the real, like, serious, like very, very like historical dramas, almost. I don't want to call them costume dramas. That's not the right word to put it, but they were very, very heavy. And George Lucas is like
more like a Roots kind of treatment.
Yes.
Right? Like, yeah, very serious, very heavy. First of all, Carter, yes, we talked about this sizzle reel. We watched it right at the beginning of the show. So go back, watch that. You'll see our response to that. And Anthony, I'm going to be getting to your comments because they'll fit in context with something we're going to talk about here in a minute. Do you think George is racist? No, I don't think he is. And for folks who are into the whole social justice thing. George was very left. He's a left-wing kind of guy. He was anti-war Vietnam. He wanted to make an anti-war movie. The original trilogy has some anti-Vietnam kind of sentiments woven through it, and you can go research all that stuff. He was very much a left-wing activist, very much a bleeding heart liberal, if you will.
If you live in San Francisco and you want to live in San Francisco, before the tech boom, the Silicon Valley tech guys brought in a lot of more right winger stuff. But in 1980s, 1990s, San Francisco inhabitant, you're compared to the rest of the country, very left.
Yeah. And as Meg says, you mean real human beings who care about equality. Yeah. As opposed to me, who I'm not a real human being and could care less about equality. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Oh my goodness. This is good. Yeah, and George's wife is African American. Yes. But
that's never like a really good one to like throw out there, because it's like
no.
I have black friends. But it's like, well, slave owners had relations with their slaves too. It doesn't make them not racist because they were in love with their slaves, you know? So it's kind of one of those things you can't really use.
Exactly. And X-Wing is exactly right here. So George did equate the rebels and, our heroes, Luke, Han, with the Viet Cong, right?
Yeah.
So he equated that in an interview. That the rebels, the people you're cheering for in Star Wars, are the Viet Cong. The people who you're rooting against is the U.S. military.
And Palpatine is inspired by Nixon. Newt Gunray is Reagan. He's literally slapping at Reagan. And Lot Dodd is one was a Democrat, but it's all there.
Yeah, it is. And Mark, yes, I have a Santa appearance this afternoon. So so we're getting there. So so let's get back here again. So in 2012, he was upset over Red Tails. He doesn't take well to fan backlash. He doesn't take well to be calling a racist. He didn't like that at all. And
it sucks. It sucks.
True. I hate it when Meg calls me a racist. She does it all the time. Yeah, it's terrible. She does it. She always
calls me a Santa sympathizing Democrat. And I'm like, what does that even mean?
So it's great. And I know that, Meg. I'm saying it because you're not here to defend yourself. I'm not just. Oh my goodness! I know that you've never said that once. I know. Meg and I are dear friends. You guys, if you're watching here, you think she's picking on me or I'm picking on her, and we're kind of having a little cat. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Reindeer friends. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. As it was in my head, I had to get it out. I am sorry.
Yeah. So. There, Ducky. I like that. Left or right, I hate everyone.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nihilism. I'm dark nihilist.
Oh my goodness. So we get here. This to me, I think, is the straw that broke the camel's back. And a lot of people say, look, it was the fan backlash from the prequels that made him sell. No, I don't think he cared for it. I think he was upset about it, but he had gotten his mind back to a point where he was talking about, look here, he was considering directing episode 7 for a 2015 release. He had already kind of put back in his mind a sequel trilogy. We'll talk a little bit about the outline for that. And he was going to actually kind of get started on it and then maybe hand it off. Right. And Red Tails comes out and he's like, forget it, fam, I'm out. I'm done. I'm for all these reasons, like Jason, like you said just a little bit ago, all of that, he's realizing he's out of touch with society. He can't do it. And more importantly, he's fixing to have a baby. And Quentin, oh my goodness, thank you so much. If we're being real, the minute what's it? You compare your characters to real world event. You're inviting. I got to read it. Take it out so I can read the rest of it. It says you're inviting the political commentary. And another super chat to continue the thought. Thank you so much, Quentin. Oh, coming in big for us today. Thank you. So it's great to get the real world comparisons. People have real world emotions about it, especially since the Viet Cong were communists. Right. Exactly. Right.
I think like when it comes to that on that beat, I think what George was specifically interested in though was the fact that the United States was seen throughout the world at that point, post World War II, as sort of imperialistic, and we were very afraid of becoming like the British Empire. We didn't want the liberal left didn't want that for the United States, and so. But what you had was you had a force with what he equates to sticks and stones and bows and arrows, which is really kind of romanticizing it to some degree. But they didn't have anything, but they overtook this imperializing force at the time, and were able to fight it back through the human spirit of fighting for your home. Yeah, and that's how he saw it.
And to be fair, he equates the same thing with like the American revolutionaries against the British Empire, and all of that. So he was fighting back against American imperialism, which was associated with Nixon, the Nixon administration, and their acts against the Vietnamese people who had become communists. So he was against imperialism as a whole, and to whatever degree the United States was acting imperialistic. So it wasn't a strictly pro Viet Cong, anti-American sentiment. It was just, Quentin, another $10. Oh my goodness, Quentin. Oh, not disagreeing, but we were not disagreeing. We were very imperialistic, but LOL, human emotions don't work that way. It's hard for regular folks to fight off emotions to see rational explanation. Amen, my brother. Amen. Because look, nuanced discussion is something that's becoming more and more rare in our society.
Yeah.
Like either you're 100% this way or you're 100% that way, and having any kind of reasoned discussion, you're playing with fire and you're liable to get burned by it. And we've seen a lot of people absolutely get torched by trying to have these nuanced discussions. So thank you so much, Quentin.
Yeah, and I would throw out there that like Padme is a good example of exactly how Lucas views things. On one hand, like Lucas wants Padme to talk to Dooku. Dooku's the bad guy. Dooku is a secessionist piece of crap who wants to destroy the Republic. And he's like, but you still have to try, to actually talk to him. Today, if somebody interviews somebody who they disagree with, then they're like, oh, well, there you go. You don't disagree with them. You're giving them a platform. So Padme would be canceled in the Star Wars universe if she lived in our universe.
And I knew this was going to happen. Sheev is calling me out on my hypocrisy. and how that I rule the North Pole with an iron fist. We don't have a democracy here at the North Pole. The elves are not unionized. There's no unionization up here. We will have none of it.
Yeah. And somebody was asking about 1980s filmmakers. Weren't they all left-wingers? And for the most part of the new Hollywood, that's pretty true. John Milius, though, was their friend, was their buddy in film school who did like Red Dawn and stuff. As right-wing as you can get. And they liked John Milius because he would beat up people for him. He would get George Lucas's movies shown in theaters where they were going to skip them at film festivals, and he would go out there and rough them up because he was a tough guy.
And I want to point out this guy, my friend Trinity. I watch Trinity's videos, and Trinity does some fantastic discussions around having these kind of discussions. If you've not subscribed to Second Street Marvel, you've not checked out Trinity, I encourage you to go check it out. Maybe he's not your flavor. Maybe he is. Oh, maybe you do enjoy that kind of discussion. I have learned, personally, I have learned a lot, and I've taken a lot of what Trinity has said to heart. and I've tried to be a better person coming out of it. So thank you, Trinity. Thank you for that. To pick back up here in the story, we know that after Red Tails, that it's my preposition that Red Tails was the straw that broke the camel's back, and he's out. So coming out of that in early 2012, he says he's moving away from making blockbuster films. Then, here it is. While he's in New York, he asked Kathleen Kennedy to lunch, asked her if she'd co-chair Lucasfilm. He was working on his succession plan. By June 2012, right, she began working with him. He's working on his succession plan to hand over the reins of Lucasfilm to Kathleen Kennedy, and I think he already had in his mind he was going to sell it to Iger and Disney. So it says Lucas soon proposed they work together on the sequel trilogy. Look, the guy wasn't done at this point, even though he said, look, I'm not making any more movies. I'm not making the blockbuster movies. I've got other priorities. And we'll see that. He has a kid. He has a wife. And he learned from the original trilogy what happens to your wife and your family when you're making blockbuster movies. Right?
And he has hundreds of people on his payroll who, if they don't do something, are going to have to go find new jobs.
So look, I've started something. Look, the elves at the North Pole, they've got everything they need. They don't need no stinking unions. No. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. And it's just an ongoing thing we have here. People give me a hard time about the elves. So, anyway, we get them. He's working with Kathleen Kennedy, Michael Arndt, and Lawrence Kasdan to come up with that trilogy treatment. And that's the thing that a lot of people would love to see. Can we see it? And we're going to see some things here. So let's go on. Lawrence Kasdan hired. After making an appearance at Celebration in August, Lucas took Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher to lunch and said, are you guys willing to come back? They agreed, as did Harrison Ford, after being promised Han Solo would be giving a meaningful closure. Meaning, we'll let you die, right?
We're going to give you a farm, Han Solo. You can just go live on the farm.
That's funny. Yeah, and look, Gray's right there giving me harassment in the chat as well. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, my friend. I love you so much. Details of the treatments included the conclusion of Skywalker's family story, third generation being portrayed in their 20s. So earlier, we were asked who would have starred in his trilogy. He's saying that it would have been the third generation. So early on, in an earlier kind of outline for the saga, George said the prequels would be like the grandfather, the original trilogy would be the children, the sequels would be the grandchildren. And so that seems to be the basic outline here as well. So that the sequels would have focused primarily around the third generation portrayed in their 20s. So they're children, right?
Yeah.
So Anthony, that begins to answer your question from earlier, as well as his other three-part or two-part question had to do with trusting George to direct these movies. And I think that I agree with a lot of people who think that George did not have enough collaboration in the prequels, and that him stepping away was probably the right move. However, I think what we ended up with is too much of a pendulum swing the other direction. And maybe we should have found some place in the middle where George is kind of giving us story treatment, story outlines, and then you're letting other directors execute it and and make it happen through collaboration. And I think that's what we're getting primarily through Dave Filoni. Like Dave Filoni and George Lucas seem to be tight, and they seem to be kind of weaving these stories, collaborating with him.
But I will throw it back to Red Tails again, though. I think we could see that is Red Tails is the product of that very methodology, most likely, and it didn't weave pop results. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm not even sure if that would have been. I don't even know if that would have worked. I think Lucas's sensibilities, which I love, just simply fell out of. They weren't the mainstream anymore.
Well, and he I remember this piece here where he says he hoped to explain concepts, and he revealed the symbiotic relationship between midichlorians, the wills, and all of that. He was going to go into this microscopic, and he even said fans would have hated it. Yes. He recognized like the story he wanted to tell was not one people wanted to hear. It's not, and now as much as people swear, oh no, we promise we would have loved them. No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't have.
No.
History tells us differently.
No. I mean, you also have to deal with authentic criticism would not have liked it, because Star Wars is kind of lowbrow to some extent, and you have a bunch of people who want to pretend that they understand David Lynch, who are reviewing Transformers all the time, and that's what they do, and then they have to come in and act above it. And then you also have the grifters who would just find things wrong with anything. But George Lucas was always going to come at his movies from the 1960s, the personal is political. And so it was always going to be some version of what we got either way in terms of the backlash and the discourse. I think I don't see it changing no matter what. I see the same outcome, because if Lucas had done it, it would have been real SJW stuff, not the superficial Disney kind. And then the Disney version of it, but it's the same outcome, I think. In terms of like YouTube and the way it's reported.
Yeah, for sure. And let me Quentin back here with another super chat saying last one. The world changed a lot between the 70s and 2000. You can see that by how many properties have failed because of old views. And I'm old. That's very true, Quentin. And how the stories are told now is different. And Anthony asked this question. It's a little bit off topic, but I'll allow it. Only because I find it odd that people are pushing back against the politics in modern Star Trek. Like, have you watched Star Trek? That's the only question I have. Like, are you familiar at all?
Think about what a genius move it is. If The Last Jedi made you $25,000, 3 or 4 years ago, take that model, put it on Star Trek. It's never gonna. It's a never-ending wheelhouse.
True.
And that you could have been doing that grift since when Rod Serling was alive and making Twilight Zone. You know what I mean? Like It's endless. It's genius.
Star Trek is like opposite of capitalism.
It's post-capitalism entirely.
It is entirely. And he was pushing the boundaries of acceptability throughout the whole time. And, interracial kiss and all of that. It's really stands up today.
Which is why we know that Kurt can't be racist, because he kissed a black lady one time. I'm kidding. That's a joke.
I know. I don't want to go too far down that. I don't want to go down that too far. And I meant to click on Grace, but this is true. There were, during that long period of time when we had no Star Wars, Star Trek became the place to go for the kind of content, right? Sci-fi kind of thing. And I would argue Star Trek and Star Wars are not even in the same exact genre. Like,
no,
Star
the
Wars
one's sci-fi, one's fantasy.
Yeah.
And if Star Wars was that radical, Lando would have kissed Leia, because that would have been the radical move right there. A black man kissing a white woman, that would have been radical. But
true
at times.
True. So let's get back here. See if we can make it at all into. We're not going to make it. We're not going to make it.
No, we can't. We can't. I don't want this to end, Santa. I love our time together, and I want it to last forever.
Daryl, Kirk kissed everything. That's not wrong. Like
yeah.
Thank you so much, RF Gaming Channel. Check my DMs. Let me check that here. Okay. You know what, RF Gaming Channel? I will send you a link here, and right before we close, I'll let you come in. He'd like to talk to you personally on stream, if you don't mind, Jason.
Cool.
So I'll let him come in. He's got nice things to say. So
Oh, no.
I'll let him come in. Well,
That's always a trick. It's not bad. I just think we should see other people. That's usually how it goes.
Oh my goodness! So I do want to touch base on kind of close this piece out here.
Yeah. Peace out.
Yeah. So by June 2012. So June 2012 again. This is when he was working with Kathy Kennedy, right? So 2012, he proposed to Kathy, "Hey, let's start working on this sequel trilogy together." They bring in Kasdan, they bring in Arndt, and they're working on it. Same month, he agreed to sell the company, provided Kennedy replace him. So we've got things going on at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So he's planning out the sequels, where they're going to go, and he's also saying, "I'm out."
As somebody who probably understands the business world well better than I ever will, do you buy this narrative that it happened this way, or do you think it was slowly happening in more subtle ways, and then like the meeting with Kennedy was a formality?
I think that they were in talks for months. So Red Tails happened. And I think that, again, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And he said, "Okay, I've got to have a secession plan. I want to talk to Kathy." So he takes her lunch. They talk about it. And at that point, the secession started. Way before June, right?
Yeah.
But things started to happen quickly. So in say December 2011, he wasn't necessarily on board. Like, he was ready to start thinking about what's going to be the next project. Red Tails happens, and he's done. He's done.
And I want to throw it out there too. Like I said before, Katie Lucas, who's on this poster right here, who had written this Star Wars piece, she was online really promoting the heck out of Clone Wars. And the same cats who went after everybody else and everything after went after her over the special editions. And then years later acted like, "No, we always liked the prequels, you guys." But they actually kind of ran her off the internet, just like they did Kelly Marie Tran. And in doing that, I think that also played into all of that stuff too. His kids were now getting harassed over his decisions. It was literally ruining his family. It was ruining his family's ability just to exist. And I think that cannot be. I think that was a big part of it. I think that really pissed him off.
Oh, I see. Let me bring this up. I'm trying to look. Well, I'll wait for RF Gaming Channel to join us here, because he actually sent me screenshots of a chat you had with him, and he wants to give you credit for that. And it's a great story. Great story.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, it's a tearjerker. Get your tissues ready. It's a really good one. No, I'm not exactly. Just
I can't cry in front of Star Wars, Meg. She'll make fun of me.
So we'll pick up, I think, next week on what this was going to look like and where it went from there. But yeah. I do want to point out in this article a couple of things that I think are pertinent right now. Because they just came up, and I shared this with Jason in our DMs this morning. But as you read through here, you look at George's kind of outline. People are somewhat familiar with this. Darth Maul would return with robotic legs. That's before he killed him off in Rebels. But and he would train Darth Talon as his apprentice. She was a new Darth Vader. Interesting. Darth Talon was the new Darth Vader. But this is the part I caught. Maul would become the godfather of crime in the universe. As the Empire fails, he takes over. Oh, what have we heard recently about being a gangster kind of film or show?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it totally. That sounds like Maul is taking over the book, or the Boba is taking over the Maul role in
Yeah.
that kind of plan. But also worth noting too is that Star Wars Underworld was going to develop the relationship between the Underworld and the Empire and the Rebel Alliance, and about how all of it was a vicious. DJ's conversation and
Yeah.
the Last Jedi. It was going to lay that out, that little wheelhouse about that cycle of black
Yeah.
markets and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of have to wonder to some extent though, if when Lucas was doing Underworld, he was imagining how this would set up a sequel trilogy.
Oh yeah, and I think that Filoni and Favreau are absolutely taking those elements, those story treatments, those story elements directly from George, adapting it into the Book of Boba Fett, and we're getting your gangster, the crime boss, right here. Boba is the Darth Maul in this, and then it says Leia is trying to rebuild the Republic and get it under control from the gangsters. Oh, who might we see trying to get control of things from the gangsters? We've heard lots of rumors of Luke Skywalker being involved. So I think that these story treatments right here are going to make their way into the Book of Boba Fett. It's my hot take. Hot take. Right there.
And which also may be inspired by the fall of the Soviet Union and what happened in Russia to some extent as well. If you want to, not to get on the political thing again, but that was an example of where crime was the only thing that was keeping the place together for a time, and then became the official government.
So I want to bring this up. I want to bring this up because we do have our friend RF Gaming channel in the back room, and he sent me this, and I want to share it with everybody right before I bring him in. I'm going to show this on stream, where he reached out to you and you suggested you go to Lucasfilm and find emails, start sending them. It's going to be the best way. Let me know if there's anything I can do. And he replied back, Jason, thank you so much. I got a hold of someone at Lucasfilm and got the ball rolling. Looks like it's going to happen. Thank you so much for getting back to me. And then it goes on. Now it's in the open. We talked about it on the show. The first segment captures exactly what it means. Encourage anyone reading to check out Monday's courtesy of Disney Lucasfilm. Thanks to my brother, Mark Foster. Disney came today, and I was able to see it at home. No spoilers, but it's a well put together and fitting into the saga. His brother had ALS and couldn't go see the movie, and he reached out to you, and you suggested he reach out, and you helped make this happen for him. So here he is, you guys, our friend RF Gaming channel. Thank you for coming in and sharing this story with us. The floor is yours, my friend.
Thanks so much. It's been a couple years since Rise of Skywalker came out. I was fortunate enough at Christmas time 2017 to go out and visit my brother in Arizona. I live in Baltimore. And we got to see The Last Jedi together, which got to take my son. We've seen so many Star Wars movies together in the theaters. And as Rise of Skywalker was coming up, my brother, Mike Foster, he Navy veteran. I don't know if a lot of people know, but actually the occurrence of ALS in veterans is higher than the normal population. And unfortunately, he was diagnosed with ALS. It was around April 2017. He progressed to where he needed to be in a bed instead of a wheelchair. And obviously a bed, the logistics of getting that into a movie theater is not possible. And he was really depressed and down. And I tried to get something viral going, like tagging Mark Hamill and a whole bunch of people involved in Star Wars on the production side. Could never get that going. I reached out to a whole lot of Star Wars creators, YouTube creators, and I got to say, not a whole lot even replied to me. But Jason, you did. And what's even crazy is, thank you to Facebook Memories, as I sent those screenshots to Santa's. I have a sports podcast. I went back and watched the sports podcast from that week that my brother got to see it. And I was relaying the story of what happened, and I said thanks to Jason Ward. I was like, holy crap! Like Jason's on Santa's channel now. I get to see him like all the time. I mean, we don't talk. It's almost like a personal connection now. So now that I got this chance to say it out loud and give you your due, I just have to thank you so much for making that happen for my brother. He got to see it a couple weeks before it released in theaters.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that it was in that circumstance, but that's so rad. I had no idea that it worked, that you were able to make it happen. That's amazing.
Yeah, and mad props to Disney and Lucasfilm. They went to his house. He got to see it with his daughter, his cousins, his nieces and nephews. That he really imparted a love of Star Wars to onto them as well. So it was a great family thing to happen. And I mean, he's still hanging on. He's still loving all the content coming out. He gets all the audiobooks and listens. So it's a great thing.
That's great. I mean, yeah, it makes me feel really, it makes it feel worthwhile that something good happened. You know what I mean? Because this whole thing could be so selfish, so about my love of this thing, and I'm so glad that he got to see it.
Yeah, I am too. I lost an uncle to ALS. He was also a military veteran, and he contracted ALS. As you said, ALS is far more prevalent in military veterans, and we lost him to ALS. And I'm happy to hear that your brother's still hanging on, that they've been able to keep him treated, which is really a testimony to the work going on in the ALS community.
Yeah, and the VA has been wonderful to him. Like, they've done so much for him.
Good. Yeah. And did he like it?
Yeah, he liked it. A lot of emotion into it, but he really enjoyed it. And for all the criticism Rise of Skywalker gets, it'll always be a favorite of mine, just because I could do that for him. That we made that happen for him.
That's great.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. That's that, and people don't realize the power. And I think people do. I'll go back on myself. People do understand the power that Star Wars has in bringing back cherished memories of family and loved ones, and times of our lives where we were able to go to Star Wars to escape whatever was going on at the time. And for your brother and your family and loved ones to have that memory from Rise of Skywalker is a truly, truly special thing. And not only that, but that Disney and Lucasfilm really helped make that happen. And it shows what I think Meg and I were talking about on our private channel members only stream the other day, that we're about building a community of people over our own channels. Right? Star Wars Santa is about me trying to make people's day better. I try to enjoy spending time with other people who share this passion. But at the end of the day, I'd like the day to be better. And Jason and I kind of formed this relationship, and Meg and I have formed this relationship because first and foremost, we care about people. And over our channels and understanding that people are far more important, and the way that we treat one another and what we do for one another is a testimony. This is a great story. Thank you for sharing it.
And you're a great brother. I gotta say, like, as far as I don't want to pat myself on the back. I think we should pat you on the back for being a really, really great brother, because you could have easily just been like, it'll stream and he'll see it then. But you made it happen. Like, you're the one, you did the work and you made it happen for your brother, and that's great. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. I truly appreciate that story. And I remember it kind of hitting the news at the time of Lucasfilm doing this kind of thing. But I had no idea this was with you, your family, your brother.
Yeah.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Take care.
Bye, dude. Thank you. Thank you for telling
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah.
That was
All
so
right.
nice.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
I did prove I have a little bit of a heart. I had a little bit of tears.
Yeah, it's true.
You weren't joking. I thought you were going to be like, it was like, oh, I should start a channel. I was like, oh, buy this microphone, and then he did it or something.
Oh no, I told you to get your tissues ready. It's a good story, and it's something that's kind of pulled up some emotions in me as well. And having family deal with ALS, it's a big thing.
Yeah, we lost a family friend to ALS a few years ago. It is terrible.
It is terrible. It is terrible, and our prayers are with you. I had no idea that was what's going on. So, Mike Porter dad joke of the day, and we'll pick up for you guys. We'll try to pick up next Monday on the rest of the rest. Look at me lying. We'll do another paragraph of
We'll do a sentence. And can we take 1 second though to observe the hilarity of Mike Porter's joke having to come after that?
Yeah, excellent. That's fine, Stan. I wanted to cry Monday morning anyway. You know.
Let's just get it all out of the way on Monday, and then have a very uneventful week now.
Yeah, exactly. It shows my lack of ability to play it. So, Mike Porter dad joke. Why did Chewbacca clean his ears?
Why, Mike Porter?
To get the Ewoks out.
That's so stupid. I actually love that one.
I don't even know what to do with that. That's the point. That's the point of it being a dad joke. Oh, thank you, Jason. You and your sketchy friend doing a show?
We're going to get ready right now, and yeah, come and hang out with us. It's going to be a good time. Anybody who wants to show up, and Santa, you're always invited. Always. Anytime you want to come. But yeah.
I just compiled some code this morning, and I got to go do some testing. So I'll be listening. And,
all right.
I look forward to it. So you guys, yeah, young Yoda, I don't get it. I'm just saying, it's like to get the wax out, to get the Ewoks
earwax.
Earwax.
It's like a kid's, like how a kid who has that little lisp going. Yeah. My Ewoks.
Meg says she'll be there too, telling all about her UFO experience, or not.
Yeah.
I know. And there we go. Earwax, Ewoks. Yeah, you get it. It's almost like a joke.
It's great. That's better than a dad joke. I'm a dad, so maybe it's just a good dad joke. I don't know, but it's pretty good.
It is good, and I love Mike Porter. Thank you guys for being here. Again, I'm going to have an abbreviated show scheduled this week. I've got to get some code done, and Santa has to make his appearances. So if you don't see me before, you'll at least see me Friday with Meg, assuming we can do that, or maybe not until next Monday when Jason and I go on an hour about 2 or 3 words in an article. That'll be, you have that to look forward to. Thank you, Jason. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And thank you, RF.
Yeah, RF Gaming Channel. Thank you. And wow, what a great story to share with us. Thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful day. And thank you for spending this time with us. And until next time, my friends, Merry Christmas, everybody. And may the force be with you always. Bye-bye.